Well, good afternoon. Happy Open Education Week to everybody. Welcome to our OER Dynamic Coalition webinar. It's fantastic to see all of you here today. As we gather to celebrate Open Education Week, we're diving into the exciting world of emerging technologies in education. Organized by the OER Dynamic Coalition, our main goal is to explore how generative AI and blockchain are reshaping the educational landscape. Throughout this webinar, our aim is simple: to have a candid conversation about these technologies and their potential impact. Now, let me take a moment to introduce you to the OER Dynamic Coalition. The OER Dynamic Coalition, which is a UNESCO Internet Governance Forum Dynamic Coalition, is dedicated to advancing open educational resources globally. It aims to provide a space for collaboration and information sharing for the implementation of the UNESCO 2019 Recommendation on Open Educational Resources. Our coalition brings together a diverse range of stakeholders, including educators, policymakers, researchers, and advocates, all united by a common goal: to promote equitable access to high-quality learning for all. If you'd like to join and stay connected, please fill in the form. My colleagues will put the link into the chat, and we look forward to working with you and having you with us on this event and further ones. So let's jump right in and discover together what the future of education and learning looks like in a digital age. Today we have an exciting lineup of speakers from academia, non-governmental organizations, and higher education institutions. Without further ado, let's welcome our first speaker. Our first speaker is Dr. Aras Bozkurt, Associate Professor of Distance Education, Anadolu University, Turkey. Professor Bozkurt, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Today, I will present a speech entitled "What if OER is co-created with generative AI, exploring ownership, authorship, and transparency issues," which is facilitated by UNESCO OER Dynamic Coalition for Open Education Week. Let me briefly introduce myself. I am an associate professor of distance education at Anadolu University, Turkey. I am also associated with some academic journals. Even though I have multiple roles, I define myself as a learner and, most importantly, as a dreamer. I believe that being a learner and dreamer is more important than the other roles. Here we go. Let's explore the world of openness from the perspective of generative AI. Generative AI is creating a buzz and it is here to stay. Imagine a technology that can write stories, answer questions, or even create art just like we do. That's what generative AI is all about. It uses something called natural language processing to understand and generate human-like text and also audio, still, and dynamic visuals. But why is everyone so excited about it? It's because this technology can grasp and use human language, and language is indeed one of the most complex systems we have ever created. It doesn't just stop there. It can also spot patterns and insights that we might miss. What's truly fascinating is how this AI can learn, unlearn, then relearn, just like us. This means it is always improving, always getting better at understanding and creating new content. And we will see how this technology is changing the natural learning content itself, which includes OERs. Some argue that this AI is getting pretty good at imitating human language. However, it is essential to note that it is still echoing what is learned, not truly understanding. This means what it produces is synthetic. It is crafting new pieces from what it has been fed, not creating from the scratch or understanding like we do. Why does this matter? As we dive into the world of open educational resources and practices, we are starting to blend human-made, in other words, organic, and AI-generated, that is, synthetic content. This mix raises big questions. How do we use this technology responsibly? How do we ensure the quality and authenticity of what we are learning and teaching? As we blend AI with open educational resources, indeed, we are on the edge of a revolution. Imagine a world where educators don't write textbooks, but instead, they craft prompts that guide AI in creating interactive learning conversations. David Wiley throws this fascinating idea into the mix, suggesting a shift towards learning that's more like a dialogue than monologue. This could not only make education more engaging, but also bridge the gap between exclusive paid-for materials and open accessible resources. But this new frontier comes with challenges. How do we harness AI to enhance education while keeping human touch? Generative AI is not just about technology, it's about partnership. As it learns to speak our language, we are prompted to think deeper about the content it creates, whether it is from us humans or from AI itself. This isn't just about who is creating the information, it is about how we are working together to do it. This era of collaboration is exciting, but now we are entering a new phase where AI doesn't just process information for us, it creates it alongside us. This blurs the lines between human generated and AI generated content, making AI a co-creator in our knowledge ecosystem. What does this mean for us? It means we need to rethink creatively ownership and wisdom in the digital age. AI is becoming an integral part of how we learn and understand the world, raising important questions about ownership and the value of machine-created versus human-created knowledge. Imagine creating something amazing, but no one can claim it. That's where we are at with AI-created content. Current copyright laws say if a human didn't make it, it can't be protected. This means anything generative AI creates could technically belong to everyone from the get-go. But this is not that simple. Indeed, this is a chance for free-to-use educational materials, as in the case of OERs or more broadly, open educational practices, OEPs. Questions about authorship are open to further debates. After all, if only humans can legally own their creations, where does that leave AI's work, especially when that work is built on human-made content to begin with? This creates a bit of a puzzle. AI is learning from stuff that already exists, so who really owns the new things it makes? It's a gray area that's sparking a lot of debates, especially when we think about using AI to create learning materials. That's why I believe that it's a conversation that is just beginning, and it is one we will need to navigate carefully as we move forward in digital knowledge age. The question on everyone's mind is that can generative AI be credited as a co-author? It's a hot topic. On one side, some say yes, crediting AI as a co-author for its contributions, but others argue that a technology without conscience cannot be credited as an author. The consensus is that AI shouldn't be listed as a co-author. Why? Because authorship comes with responsibilities like accountability for what's written and the ability to stand by your work. Besides, it can take responsibility or it cannot take responsibility or participate in the intellectual discourse that follows publication. So while AI is revolutionizing how we create, the debate on its role in authorship stresses the need for clear guidelines that recognize human effort and accountability. Academic integrity is the backbone of all scholarly work, grounded in 6 key values: honesty, trust, fairness, respect, responsibility, and courage. It's what keeps the academic world ethical and trustworthy. But here's the thing. With AI in the mix, maintaining honesty and trust in education is more challenging and crucial than ever. AI can be a tool for learning or a temptation for shortcutting. Balancing its benefits with ethical use is our next big challenge. How do we do that? My suggestion would be by being transparent about AI's roles and its contributions in our works. Transparency is key. Whether AI helps us brainstorm, write, or analyze, we need to be clear about where its work ends and ours begins. This isn't just about honesty, it's about ensuring that our work remains meaningful and original. To address this issue, I propose the academic integrity and transparency in AI-assisted research and specification framework for acknowledging and disclosing the use of generative AI in scholarly writing to maintain academic integrity, transparency, and ethics. whether it's contributing directly, assisting generally, or playing a role in specific sections, idea development, editing, data analysis, or even code generation. In this framework, key is to ensure the final human oversight and ethical responsibility remain central. This framework encourages a balanced acknowledgement of AI's role by fostering integrity and transparency in academic writing. This conversation is just beginning. By critically engaging with the potential of generative AI in OER and OEP, we aim to advance a deeper understanding and spur ongoing research and dialogue. Our goal is to leverage AI responsibly and creatively, contributing to a more inclusive and innovative educational future. However, here is the million-dollar question. In the future of content creation, who leads and who follows? Will AI serve as a mere tool, or will it become a central creator, making humans at all in the story of progress? The choices we make now, viewing AI either as a tool to serve us or as the ultimate goal, will shape this journey. Thank you for being here and listening to me. While this slide implies the end of this presentation, it doesn't imply the end of this conversation. So please feel free to communicate for further conversations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bozkurt, and thank you for this very clear presentation on a very complex topic. And I think some of the key questions you raised are the ones that have been discussed nonstop in the circle since ChatGPT was launched in late 2022 concerning copyright and what is how can you have copyright if you're not a human entity with responsibility on authorship and ownership. Also, thank you for the final question, which I think we can reflect on during this discussion and afterwards as to as AI advances, what will be the role of creativity and who's going to be leading and who's following, which I think is the major challenge. So thank you very much. We'll move right on to the next speaker. It's Dr. Perrine de Coëtlogon, President of the Board of Open Education Global and University of Lille. Perrine, the floor is yours.
Bonjour à tous, je suis...
Hello everyone, it's a great pleasure to be here with you for this Open Education Week. I'm the chair of the board of Open Education Global, which is an American nonprofit organization which for a number of years now has been organizing these Open Education Weeks, and we're delighted to be able to talk today about the blockchain. I work at the University of Lille in northern France, and I have been working on the possible contributions of the blockchain to education. This is actually something that we seldom talk about. There's so much talk about artificial intelligence, but as we were just hearing, it is becoming important once again to have trusted third parties and certification methods. So I'd like to start with some good news. So this week, I just want to pull up this information. The French roadmap was published, the roadmap for digital approaches in higher education and research. And it talks about the blockchain, which of course is directly of interest to me, and also about an approach over the coming 3 years that will be based on the existing approach to open science in France. As regards the digitalization of credentials and their storage in the blockchain and the tracking of students' credentials, these will be concerned also. We often fail to precisely grasp what the blockchain is all about. Distributed ledger, and with the appearance of cyber attacks, more and more attention has been paid to the question of hacking. I was entrusted in 2018 by the French Ministry of Education with working on these questions, and we came up with some ideas, some deliverables and options, which I will now present. So when it comes to the blockchain, everything starts with this notion of a ledger, a registry in its French equivalent, which is often something that we associate with a registry, for example, of people's birth details, or when you think about banking transactions, it might be about the details of a payment. Similarly, there will be an entry into the land registry when purchases of real estate are made. So this is what, at least in French, the word registry, which is equivalent to the ledger of distributed ledger, evokes. We were thinking about what the corresponding notion, how a ledger could be used in education might be, and we thought that diplomas might be, credentials in general might be something this technology could be used for. So you have tracking the students' registration, the progress they make, the grades they get, and finally the diploma they have obtained. And it seemed that it would be useful to be able to certify the issuance of such university credentials. UNESCO worked with us on this idea that it would be an excellent thing to start with a shared unified standard for all the players so that everyone would be able to enjoy the advantages of such a standard, whatever their situation, if, for example, they're refugees or if they're on the move or not. And the idea is also to be able to encompass the kinds of skills that people have acquired through experiential learning. And this is open recognition, a concept which has been developed by a number of colleagues over the past few years. I always enjoy their EPIC conference, which is organized every year, and all kinds of novel developments occur there. For example, for ag students, some of what they learn from experience about contributing to a sustainable world, being able to recognize these forms of learning of new skills is one of the things that can be part of such an approach, and also the skills modules or blocks in university. And we'll probably be hearing a little bit more from Camilleri later on. Now, of course, there is the cryptocurrency example. Of course, we seldom talk about financial issues in an academic, financial sector issues in an academic setting. And we have heard a lot about how some cryptocurrencies were devouring enormous amounts of resources and energy. And the French government wanted to create a new blockchain infrastructure that could be used for innovative cross-border services. The first use that was identified for this was managing credentials and various kinds of competencies. And we could have, of course, a very simple blockchain, a kind of intranet, with new standards which are in step with the new Web3 approach, a new way to certify elements. In the world that we live in today, the internet and PDF documents are unable to meet these needs. This new approach is known as VC, verifiable credentials, and DID, or distributed identifiers. And these are the things we're going to be talking about for the future. Just to touch upon our work very briefly, we have a white paper that will enable you to understand how we went about digitizing academic credentials. So we've already issued some 60,000 diplomas. They're called digital success certificates at the end of a degree course. And this is a screen capture from just before this meeting, 131,000 visits from all around the world, from more than 150 countries all over the planet. Students are using this on a very large scale, and it's coming in very useful for them. So you can see that when we talk about diplomas, credentials, it seems like something very specific, but at least we can see that it's already proving its usefulness. The Digital Credential Consortium, the DCC, was able to develop these ideas, which we materialized in a simple, straightforward way in just a few clicks with this actual blockchain stored diploma that you see that can reassure your interlocutors about your qualification. And ultimately, thanks to the blockchain, we'll also be able to identify ourselves or to provide information about ourselves without saying specifically who we are, but nevertheless, the person we are engaging with will be able to reach an understanding as to the fact, for example, that we are a citizen of an EU country and therefore entitled to a given kind of social benefit. So this is the European Blockchain Services Institute, the EBSI, and the Lille University is a partner with this institute. I also wanted to talk about what we know as the Open Badge. There are a number of initiatives in France that tie in with this blockchain-related concept, which should enable you to be able to find all of your learning outcomes. It may be a diploma, it may be a certificate for an employer, for example, and then artificial intelligence would be able to help us with finding new jobs or taking a new career course. The Open Badge is now recognized as a tool which enables you to go towards certification. And one of the things, these are some of the things that we've been exploring in relation with the Open Badge, which is not directly reliant on a blockchain, but which does rest on the so-called verifiable credentials, the VC concept that I was telling you about, where you might have information which pertains to a diploma or to certain skills. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Perrine. Merci beaucoup, Perrine, pour cette intervention.
Thank you very much for this presentation.
Next, thank you for this overview of blockchain, which has been in the discussions on and off for several years, and it's been used for credentials. And it's fascinating to see this example of how it's been developed and the latest developments in this area. Next, we have our third speaker, Professor Alexander Mikroyanidis, Senior Research Fellow, Knowledge Media Institute at the Open University, UK. Professor Mikroyanidis will discuss the challenges and opportunities for AI and blockchain in open education and lifelong learning, providing valuable insights from his research at the Open University. Professor Mikroyanidis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this invitation. I've been listening very very carefully to the previous speakers, and I believe my talk will build upon what was previously presented regarding AI and also blockchain. So within this presentation, I will talk about the latest initiatives, the latest research projects that we have been working on at the Open University, specifically investigating what are the main challenges and opportunities that AI and blockchain pose for open education and lifelong learning. So first of all, a few words about the Open University. We are open to people, places, methods, and ideas. This is our official motto. And we are one of the largest universities in Europe, with over 200,000 students currently. More than 2 million students have had the opportunity to study with us since the Open University was launched in 1969. Our students are mainly mature. 60% of them are already in work, and they are looking to upskill or reskill to improve their career prospects, or even completely switch to a different career. And also give second opportunities to people that come from, for example, deprived areas. Most notably, a quarter of our UK undergraduate students live in the 25% most deprived areas in the UK. We also believe in open education at scale, and we do this through our Open Learn platform. This is an online repository of open educational resources produced by the Open University. These are thousands of free open learning materials that have been adapted as open educational resources, originating from the learning materials that are paid, that our students, that the OU paid students use to learn, to study with us. So we adapt those and we offer them for free on OpenLearn, which it works very much at scale. We have had more than 100 million visitors since this platform was launched back in 2006. Right, so in this first part of my talk, I'll go through the work that we've been doing regarding the blockchain applications for lifelong learning. So first of all, it's important to understand the challenges that lifelong learners face. And to do that, I have been organizing a series of consultation workshops within some major open education and educational technology conferences. And within these sessions, some of the themes that emerge as the major challenges for lifelong learning is first of all, the validation of both formal and informal qualifications, the need to provide scaffolding and guidance to lifelong learners through pathways and personalized recommendations. Micro-credentials have emerged as a major player, as a major asset in addressing the need of lifelong learners to upskill or reskill, but these are often not stackable, so this is quite challenging for lifelong learners that want to build their credentials toward a bigger, to acquire a bigger qualification. Career counseling is also important in terms of, for example, having a comprehensive overview of the latest market trends, of the latest opportunities and upcoming opportunities as well, so that someone can navigate effectively the market. And finally, data ownership and privacy has emerged as quite an important theme from this consultation exercise, specifically the need of the lifelong learner to own and control their digital identity, their qualifications, their learning assets, essentially control who has access to it for example, prospect employers or educational institutions, in what ways they can access this data and for how long. So we have been attempting to address some of these challenges through the QualiChain research project. This has been a European-funded Horizon 2020 project, where I led a lifelong learning pilot within the Open University and beyond, where we were looking into ways of using the blockchain to provide transparent and immutable accreditation. And on top of that, we were exploring personalized recommendations for lifelong learners and also ways to help them reach their personal and professional goals. So the main scenario that we examined was that of the lifelong learner that studies different courses provided by different educational institutions. And the qualifications, the badges that the lifelong learners accumulates, these are stored on their personal portfolio and also on the blockchain. So they are immutable, they are instantly verifiable, based on the skills that they have acquired, which are recorded on the smart badges. They receive recommendations about jobs that match these skills, and also if they are interested in jobs that require skills that have not been acquired by the lifelong learner, then the system also produces course recommendations that will help the learner acquire those skills as well. We have also been exploring ways to deploy AI, to investigate how we can best use AI for open education, and specifically to personalize and improve the quality of open educational resources. So the main objectives behind this initiative were to create high quality learning materials in an efficient manner. We are looking to personalize learning materials to best suit the individual needs of our learners. And also we are looking into ways to efficiently adapt existing learning materials as open educational resources. So we have been running workshops with our academics at the Open University with different teams of academics that produce learning materials. And these are some of the scenarios, some of the use cases that they produced. First of all, a quick text generator will help them to summarize, to produce summaries and introductions based on module content that they have authored. Rewriting materials in different styles would also help content creators adapt module materials in different styles to suit the abilities and needs of students. Personalized learning journey would involve an AI tutor which provides a personalized module experience, and some other use cases involve real-time assistance to the student, accessibility and EDI check, and also quiz and interactive activity generator. In the next two very short videos, I'll show you the tools that we are developing at the Open University to implement some of these use cases. So in the first video we have, this is educator facing, so this is used by an educator who is producing learning materials, and they are asking the tool to provide a summary for a module that they have created. And this is the summary that the tool is producing, and the educator can further interact with the tool. For example, here they are asking the tool to provide learning objectives. The learning objectives are missing from the summary, so the user is asking for those to be included as well. In the second example, we have a student, so this is a student-facing interface who is interacting with the AI tutor. They can ask questions about a certain topic that they are studying at the Open University, about a certain unit, and they can also choose an avatar to have a more engaging interaction with the AI tutor. We can see here the avatar.
Sure. To start with, it's important to consider what aspects of culture resonate with you personally. You might want to consider the following questions.
Right. So we are currently working towards deploying this AI digital assistants at a scale, not only within the Open University. We have also partnered with the ODI, that's the Open Data Institute, within a new UKRI funded project called SAGE RAI, which stands for Smart Assessment and Guided Education with Responsible AI. So we are looking to deploy these AI solutions within the Open Data Institute and also within OpenLearn in order to evaluate the educational benefits of these approaches, the business cases, and also investigate the ethical implications and provide ethical guidance for educators and students. Right. So thank you very much for your attention. You can find more information about this work, more details in our website, genai.kmi.open.ac.uk. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mikoyanidis. And thank you for this overview of the important work that's going on at the Open University. I see that there's a lot of developments, and thank you for sharing this. Our final speaker for today is Anthony Camilleri, Senior Partner, Knowledge Innovation, Malta. Anthony will present a policy brief on next-generation web technologies and their impact on OER, offering perspectives on the future of education in the digital age. Anthony, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. The perspective I'm going to take is a little bit of a skeptical perspective. We have been speaking about blockchain for a while now, but also there has been let's say, quite some criticism of these technologies lately. So what I'm going to actually focus on is what does actually a web of OER look like, and what is the role of blockchain, or what is not the role of blockchain in this. To discuss this, the first thing that we would have to do is we would need to understand what is it that the OER community actually needs and what technologies actually are needed to take OER forward. And I would say that, let's say, there are 4 points that are really, really important to the OER community. The first requirement being that it's important to be able to identify newly published open educational resources. You want to be able to pinpoint who are the authors of these resources. You want to be able to clarify the license conditions under which these OER are published to ensure that those are enforced later on. And you want to be able to document each instance in which an OER is cited, and each instance is reused in new works, so that you are able to actually track the most important thing about OER, which is the reuse. Ever since 2018, there has been a lot of ideas asking around, is blockchain the solution? And there's been a number of studies that have looked into the potential of blockchain to serve these purposes. Some of those studies written by myself. And what all the studies essentially agreed on is that there is a lot of potential for blockchain to address these issues, that the decentralized, secure structure of blockchain, let's say, is very much in line with the principles of the OER community. But I mean, in the end, the blockchain craze started around 2018. We are now quite a few years later, and the truth is we have not really seen the kind of takeoff of blockchain technologies that we were expecting. And there's a number of reasons for that. First and foremost, and this is probably the most important one, running decentralized infrastructures is just plain hard. And many organizations just can't handle the IT requirements required to run complex decentralized apps. Secondly, there are fundamental problems with especially public blockchains around energy efficiency, around scalability, that while there have been, there's been advance on these issues, but the truth is that they are not solved. There's been massive amounts of, let's say, development on blockchain code, blockchain programs, etc., etc. But the truth is a lot of the code out there is still pilot code. It's still immature code compared to technologies that have been tested for decades. And the other thing is, while this code holds a lot of potential, developers are beginning to move on. If you're a developer at the moment, you are moving on to AI because that's where the excitement. Not to mention, blockchain, unfortunately, has been a magnet for fraud. It's been a magnet for bad actors. The very anonymity that blockchain provides, playground for bad actors. And finally, if you're trying to build a business model around taking away centralized actors and moving to decentralized apps, what this means also is that it's hard to actually profit from a blockchain application. So we've seen in numerous blockchain companies actually fall flat because they have been unable to find a suitable business model. So the thing I want to underline here is not that blockchain is dead or we've moved beyond blockchain, but simply blockchain is a little bit harder than we thought it was going to be 5 years ago. And as that excitement kind of has moved on, the question of whether blockchain is actually the technology of the future, whether Web3 technologies are the technologies of the future, just plain aren't settled yet. We're going to need more research. We're going to need more pilots, and let's say the use cases will or will not come out, but we are definitely not in the place at the moment today where blockchain is taken over the world. That said, the reason people were so excited about blockchain and let's say the fundamental pieces of the technology that have made people so interested, all of these are still valid. And we learned the importance of some things from blockchain. First of all, the importance of a semantic interconnected web and of interoperability between different systems was only highlighted by this. Secondly, the ability to be able to work with identified actors who you can trust within a trust framework was also something that blockchain really, really emphasized the importance of, and the importance of embedding cryptography into practically every transaction you do on the internet is also, let's say, one of the fundamental tenets behind blockchain. And all these three fundamental tenets are things that are being taken forward in a multitude of technologies, including blockchain, and which you might say will form the actual foundation of the next web. If these things are in blockchain, should we do it with blockchain? And to be honest, I think that when we ask, should we do something with blockchain, we are asking the wrong question. The question we should be asking is, what are our requirements? And then what is the best technology to do that? And it's very possible that blockchain will have some part in it, but equally possible there's a multitude of other technologies out there that would serve the same purpose. So if we look concretely at the use cases we were thinking about for open educational resources, I would say that there are two technologies which some of the speakers today have already referred to, which are absolutely key for making those use cases I explained earlier happen. The first is identity credentials. And identity credentials are literally credentials you can hold that prove who you are and prove that you are the specific author of a document. And one of the technologies to issue identity credentials is verifiable credentials, which Perrine was talking about earlier. The second really, really critical technology is document signing, the ability to cryptographically secure a document after it has been issued. Both of these things can be done with blockchain. Both of these things can be done also with multiple other technologies. But you put these two technologies together, and what you get is actually the DNA of a traceable open educational resource. So if I actually want to be able to say, who is the actual author of a resource? When was it published? What are the license conditions? Then what I need to think about is actually a digitally signed package that contains 4 separate artifacts. Within my digitally signed package, I would want to put the creative work itself. I would want to associate that creative work with an identity credential that proves that I am the author. I would also want to associate it with a set of open license conditions, and I want to associate it with a timestamp. And if I take these 4 different artifacts and then basically put them in a digitally signed envelope, the second I digitally sign them, this set of artifacts becomes fixed in time. It cannot be edited, it cannot be faked. So I have actual proof of who created an OER, when they created it, and I can then use this for traceability, for track. This set of technologies, ID plus license plus creative works, this kind of solves the idea of being able to determine who is the author of a credential and when was it licensed and what are the license conditions. What it doesn't solve is the ability to track use and reuse of credentials. And to be honest, we don't currently have great technologies today that are able to do this. But the speaker before me spoke about the potentials from artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence holds enormous promise in allowing us to be able to track the use of OER. In particular, AI can allow us to do 2 things. When we are authoring a document, an AI would be able to suggest content that is related. It would also be able to suggest citations. A lot of the problems with citations is that they're just such a lot of trouble to add to documents that people don't always bother. And to a large extent, AI will be able to take the pain out of citing properly and out of finding appropriate references. The second thing, though, that is really exciting is that AI will allow us to track the degree of reuse. So, I mean, at the moment, citations really are a bit of a blunt instrument. I mean, if you write a scientific paper, every sentence you write, you cite somebody. It doesn't matter if your entire paper basically came out of a reference, or if you're just using or if you're using a reference just to confirm a definition along with 3 other papers. So kind of the degree of the reuse, the importance of the reuse is something that our current citation systems don't really capture. But if we integrate AI into it, AI would actually be able to some extent, understand what the degree of reuse is and to say what the actual impact of a citation is on a paper and further down the line. So this is kind of an exciting new area for exploration. But again, all of this only works if you have the basics in place, and the basics in place are the ability to trust the sources of content and the licenses. So if we take this all together, how would I recommend that we would move forward and, let's say, really build a robust technology infrastructure that would push the mission of the OER movement forward? And I would say that there's 4 parts. First of all, crypto technologies can play a significant role in promoting OER. So there's a lot of stuff about decentralization, about signing, so on in crypto technologies, which is super valuable. But just doesn't mean we should fetishize blockchains. Secondly, and I think this is something in particular which the OER movement has to pay a lot more attention to, signing creative works is absolutely essential to OER traceability. I personally would go as far as saying that it should just be a rule of OER policies that OERs that aren't signed aren't OERs. Because you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know if you can trust a person. The only way to be able to trust an OER is to sign it. And we really have to give a lot more attention to doing this. Thirdly, we are beginning to see the outline of what next generation citation systems could look like and the benefits next generation citation systems could bring. So this is an area where we need additional research, where we need additional projects, where if we invest into this, we could see really, really significant benefits for the movement moving forward. And lastly, if we want to do any of this, it's a role of the entire OER community. It's not enough to have a few developers invent a new technology. It's not enough to have 1 or 2 universities testing it or implementing it. We need to have OER creators, OER repositories, policymakers, developers, all working together to really bring together a vision and to understand, let's say, how we can use the latest tech to move the movement forward. So I think I am at time. So all that's left to say is thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Anthony. And we're almost at the end, but we can take a couple of questions. The first question I'd like to ask, if anyone has anything they wanted to ask concerning the presentation of Perrine, our colleague Perrine de Coëtlogon, who has to leave us precisely at 5. Otherwise, I will open the floor. Are there any questions?
Take advantage of the fact that I have to leave to say that we have founded the French-speaking branch of Open Education Global, and as Guy works at the Open University of Senegal, we'll be meeting with him and later on with one of the people behind the Open Badge approach, and this will enable us to move forward in these discussions. I just wanted to before I say goodbye to everyone, thank you so much for having me today for this presentation. Thanks to the whole team.
Thank you very much, Perrine. We have one question in the question and answer box. It's from Brigitte McCarthy. It's interesting that you suggest that AI will be able to help us give citations and track the degree of reuse, since AI companies are trying very hard to argue in court that they cannot possibly track the degree of reuse of any copyrighted material from their training corpus. Alors, Anthony, you're laughing. Go ahead. You're muted.
Sorry, this is a big, complicated question. But one thing that is important to say is there are many different types of AIs. So just to call all AIs like one tool is very complex. Lately, we've been talking about generative AIs a lot. And The thing with generative AIs is it's in the name. They're generative. They create stuff. They invent stuff. And for a generative AI, it is a little bit hard to cite your sources properly. It's also a little hard to get your facts right because they're designed to kind of create stuff based on patterns. But there are a lot of other AIs out there. There are AIs that specialize in information retrieval. There are AIs that specialize in natural language processing, etc., etc. So if we were using only generative AIs, yeah, this probably wouldn't do the job. But if we'd use other, let's say, information retrieval AIs and so on, then there is a lot of potential there. Also to mention that, yeah, you know, we're already seeing the pilots. I mean, if you just go to Bing right now, Bing will quote its sources to you. They might be a little bit obvious sources, but it will quote its sources to you. So it is possible, but you need to, you know, kind of think of AI as a whole rather than just generative LLMs.
Would you like to add anything, Professor Mikroyanidis, Professor Bozkurt?
I totally agree. We are talking about different families of AI technologies. Generative AI is now the hottest one, the one that is receiving the most attention because of its potential. And I would like to mention that we are looking into using generative AI as a tool to enhance to support and enhance literature reviews and scientific research at the OU, specifically by fine-tuning it with semantic data, with ontologies and knowledge graphs, in order to provide some structure and the ability to eliminate hallucinations as well.
Okay, thank you. We have two more questions. Again, blockchain is about decentralization and transferability, whereas educational certifications are traditionally given by centralized trusted authorities, used to signify knowledge and skills which are not easy to transfer or are verifiable. Do you have any comment on this contrast? Anybody? Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if Perrine would go, but I'll take this one. I think we need to think about two different parts of it. So you have the aspect of where does your credential sit and who owns your credential. So does your university that issued your diploma own your diploma, or do you own your diploma? I am on the side of you should own your diploma. And that is something that should belong to you, that should be in your wallet, that you control. That said, that's only half the trust. And there are ways that we can sign or blockchain certify or so on a diploma that you hold and still make sure it's verifiable. But then there's the other part, and that is, can we trust the university that issued your diploma? Is it a real university? And for that, we will always need a centralized trust registry. So even when we talk about kind of radical decentralization, we're never really talking about decentralizing everything. We're really talking about where should different classes of data lie. And kind of the basic philosophy here is that your data should lie with you, but then government data, centralized data, trust registry data, that should lie with the government. But you shouldn't need to be forced to store all your data there as well. So we're really talking about kind of just making a distinction between these two types of data.
Thank you. And last question, and then we really have to close. Follow up on your answer. Generative AI tends to make up citations after the fact. We used a non-generative machine learning solution. Would we then need an official database of OERs to which we could compare our target text to find the degree of reuse? Who would like to deal with this? Anthony, go ahead.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. So I'm not sure you would need the directory of official OERs. This is why I'm an advocate for signing your OERs. So if you have signed OERs with identity credentials in, you know these OERs are real. Then in terms of directory, anyone can index these OERs. You could have Google indexing the OERs. You could have a library indexing an OER. You could have a single professor creating, you know, a curated library of 50 OERs. As long as you can trust that the OER is an original OER, then it doesn't really matter who you get it from. So this is kind of the model which I think is the way forward. You need to be able to trust the original resource, and then you can get it from any directory you want. And then, you know, you do your retrieval AI to just make sure it's an original document and determine the degree of reuse. But you do not need one directory to rule them all. You will have many, many, many directories specializing in different content areas, and you'll know you can trust them because you can trust the resources inside them.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to add anything?
I would say,
Yes.
yeah, that this is where the blockchain comes in, actually. So this is an excellent scenario for deploying a decentralized solution to track the provenance and the reusability, the reuse of open educational resources.
And there is a final question, but I think we have to end, and I don't know if there's a real answer to this question. I own my diploma, but I'm not allowed to sell it. And in fact, we do sell it when we actually get jobs with our diplomas. But I think that's not the point. And if I lose it, I can get another one from my university. Note that also, even if I lose my college email password, I can still call up the university and show them my government ID to get a new diploma. There is a proverb that education is the one thing no one can steal from you. If you kept your diploma in a crypto wallet, would it be lost? If I may, just before we start, this touches on something else which is not written there, and it's the role of refugees also. If the university gets destroyed, then it's not going to be much help to try and call it up. So it's quite complex, the question. Would anybody like to respond? I can take it if it's in a crypto wallet. I'm not sure that we have this. I'm not sure that the system works so well in every university right now. So I think there would be problems in the future in other scenarios, because
Maybe
to call up. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I'll take it up one way. If you store it in a safe or a drawer or a crypto wallet, you can always lose your credential. And if you lose your credential, you can always ask the university to issue you a new one, assuming that university still exists, which comes to the refugee issue. Now, here's the thing, though. We don't really trust paper credentials very much. So when you go for like to apply for a job with a public service, or if you go to apply for a job with an international organization, or even often for private jobs across borders, what do they ask you for? They ask you to go back to your university, have a new original issued, then have the apostilled and translated by a certified translator, and then send it across borders. So even the diploma you have is useless. You got to get it reissued. Now, at least a digitally signed diploma in a crypto wallet or like other self-sovereign wallet, that I can prove it's real without needing to go back to the institution. So assuming I don't lose it, even if my institution closes, I will be able to prove that that was a real diploma issued at that point in time by that institution. Does it solve every possible way a user can destroy a diploma? No. But it is safer than the paper one. It removes some of the problems.
Thank you. So I think no matter what, we still have the problems of artificial intelligence is one thing, but humans' interactions against artificial intelligence, I think, will not go away that quickly either. So I would like to thank very much all of the speakers for their time and their contributions. This has been a really very efficient webinar and a very interesting one. We were completely on time until I started to open the discussion period, in which now we're over time by 8 minutes. But thank you very much for keeping to time, and thank you for your very important contributions. This webinar will be available online, and we will let you know and where it is. And we look forward very much to having you in our next webinar. And I'd like to thank all the speakers for their inputs and all the participants for joining us today and for your questions and the dialogue. Thank you very much. And happy Open Education Week to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.